Revolution, come in. Revolution, come in. Hello guys and welcome to all those training to become a Super Saiyan, and welcome to Revolution. Subscribe if you haven't already and get my content straight away. And if you have Facebook, go visit this very interactive and growing Facebook group community. So on this video we are going to be going through the Super Saiyan transformations, Oozaru, Golden Oozaru and Super Saiyan 4, and I'll be explaining how the Saiyan's complex anatomy is affected by said transformations. Now guys, I'm fully aware that Oozaru and even Golden Oozaru, well to an extent, aren't Super Saiyan forms, but for Super Saiyan 4 they are integral to unlocking that form. So I felt that I should give a good explanation of how the Oozaru form works on the Saiyan DNA and how it expands into becoming Super Saiyan 4. Now this is an extension to the other video I did, Super Saiyan Transformations Explained 1 to 3, which is a detailed analysis on how Super Saiyan 1, 2 and 3 all work. And you can find that video, if you want to see it, on my YouTube channel. Anyway, let's get on with the explanation of the Oozaru. So I'm sure everybody remembers the Oozaru form, and it was used against Goku when Vegeta transformed into an Oozaru. Gohan has also the capacity to transform into an Oozaru. Goku also killed his grandpa Gohan by becoming an Oozaru and stepping on him. This transformation kind of resembles King Kong from the Western fantasy world, and that is why it is also known as the Great Ape and even the Great Monkey. It is a monkey-like creature that Saiyans can transform into when the full moon comes out, and it increases their formidable strength tremendously. So the transformation kind of works how a werewolf would come about, and that is literally at the full moon. And obviously the character has to see the full moon to transform. Now the full moon is just one of the prerequisites for this transformation. Another would be that in order for this transformation to take place, the Saiyan needs to have a tail. The reason for this is that the glands that are responsible for initiating the transformation are exclusively located in that tail. I'm sure you all remember at the beginning of Z when Raditz turned up, he had a tail, as well as Vegeta and Nappa when they first turned up. Gohan also has a tail. We aren't quite sure where Trunks and Goten's tails are. However, this tail is a must for this transformation. Another prerequisite is also involving the moon. However, the Saiyan also needs to absorb at least 17 million Xeno units of Blutz waves through the eyes to initiate the transformation. Now, Blutz waves are found only in sunlight reflected by a moon. If there is no moon, a planetary body will have the same amount of rays. However, there is a hack to achieve this transformation, in which Saiyan warriors tended to use when invading other people's planets. Vegeta, for instance, once made himself transform by firing a power ball which resembled a fake moon, which reflected the requisite amount of Blutz waves into the air, and then obviously he stared at it. And the Saiyans even had technology which allowed them to transform, as when they landed on a planet that didn't actually possess a moon of its own, their attack pods projected a hologram of a moon that was realistic enough to allow Blutz waves to be reflected off of this hologram. Now, when in this form, an untrained Saiyan, like Goku per se, loses all their natural senses. But it is possible that you can communicate with an untrained Oozaru by appealing to their subconscious, as has been demonstrated when Goku was able to get Great Ape Gohan to attack Vegeta. Anyhow, despite this lack of self-awareness, as a Saiyan matures, they can potentially be taught how to rein in their instincts and retain normal cognitive functions as an Oozaru. Vegeta displayed this, who, unlike Goku and Gohan, received this training as a Saiyan, and he was even able to talk. And because this transformation was so powerful, Saiyans developed a special armor which could stretch to fit the Oozaru form and shrink back to their normal form once they have degenerated back into their base form. Now, in terms of how much the Oozaru transformation powers up the Saiyan, that is generally considered to be 10 times the base of the Saiyan that transforms. And obviously the increased mass to their body and their overall larger stature gives them a gigantic height advantage. And they also possess the ability to fire ki blasts from their mouth. I mean, I know so many characters can actually do that, but it seems to be a trademark of the Oozaru. They do, however, have one big weakness, and that is their tail. If their tail is cut off, they can no longer be in this transformed state, and they tend to degenerate back to their base form. Now, in the Universe 6 vs Universe 7 tournament, the Saiyans from Universe 7 meet Cabba, and he explains that the Saiyans in that universe no longer possess tails as they grew out of them, so the tail was seen as a de-evolution. And it then goes to show that Cabba, even at his base, can match Vegeta. So you can kind of get the sense that this form kind of became unnecessary. And now that nearly all the Saiyans in Dragon Ball Super are able to transform into Super Saiyans, this form has literally become useless and irrelevant. Not that they could anyway, because none of them have tails, but let's say, for instance, that they were. The Super Saiyan multiplier gives them a 50 times power up from their base form. So 10 times really isn't that great. Anyhow, let's move on to the Golden Oozaru. Now, we first get a little glimpse of the Golden Oozaru when Vegeta is talking about the legend of the Super Saiyan. The image that we get is of a giant golden monkey. However, obviously throughout the rest of Z, we don't get to see this again. But in Dragon Ball GT, Goku, once pulling his tail back out, don't ask me how that makes any sense, but he did it. Once he pulled his tail back out, he was able to transform into a great ape again. And he had powered up immensely throughout all of Dragon Ball Z and attained the ability to become a Super Saiyan. This allowed for this transformation of the Golden Oozaru to become possible. Now, the prerequisites for this transformation are pretty much identical to that of the normal Oozaru form, so I won't go any further into that. Goku, for instance, transformed into this state from looking at a planetary body, as mentioned earlier, and in this instance he used the full Earth to transform. And obviously, as it's in the name, this form is golden coloured rather than the usual brown hue that the original Oozaru form has. Now, in terms of power level, I'm just going to hold off on that for a moment because I want to go through Super Saiyan 4 first, as the best example we can think of a Golden Oozaru versus a Super Saiyan 4 in terms of power is Baby Vegeta Oozaru versus Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And in those two forms, they were pretty evenly matched. Super Saiyan 4 may have been a tiny bit stronger. However, they were very similarly matched. So the Super Saiyan transformation is an exclusive transformation of Dragon Ball GT, which is a continuity of Dragon Ball Z. Obviously now there is Dragon Ball Super, so it kind of makes GT non-canon. However, a lot of people still have a lot of affection for this form in particular, and I like it too. Anyway, the only way a Saiyan can attain Super Saiyan 4 is if they have become a golden great ape and regain conscious control over said form. And when all the pieces of this puzzle are accumulated, they transform from the Golden Oozaru state into a more humanoid form as seen by the Super Saiyan 4 form. It is pretty much a human monkey. Now this form veers away from the original Super Saiyan forms quite dramatically. In this form, the Saiyan hair colours differ. The same goes for the tail, and the body is covered in red fur. A Saiyan in this form also possesses a shadow trim around the eyes and over the eyelids. The hair is lengthened, but not as long as the predecessor Super Saiyan 3. The aura in this form loses the arcs of electricity that you see with Super Saiyan 1, 2 and 3 and replaces it with sparkles. And it also becomes more flame-like. And this is to try and resemble the fact that this transformation brings out the primal power from within. For some reason in this transformation as well, the characters can magically gift themselves a new wardrobe, as Vegeta wears leather pants and Goku has found some yellow pants from some sort of charity shop. Anyway, the fusion dance that Goku and Vegeta do to become Gogeta brings about a different coloration of those aforementioned features, as Gogeta's hair becomes a bright shade of red, whereas his fur becomes a dark shade of brown, and the trim around his eyes become black instead of red. Now, obviously, this doesn't make sense, but GT is GT. Anyway, I won't go into that. Now, the Super Saiyan 4 form draws the power of its users up to their absolute limit. The massive power and speed enhancements brought on by this form easily make it the strongest Saiyan form in the GT series. A good example of this is when Goku is fighting baby Vegeta in his Super Saiyan 3 form, and he literally didn't even land a hit, but as soon as he transformed into a Super Saiyan 4, the fight swung in completely the opposite direction, with baby Vegeta completely unable to hurt Goku at all, until he reached his own Golden Oozaru levels, when Bulma transmitted Bluetooth waves at Vegeta's body. Now, the Super Saiyan 3 transformation puts an incredible amount of strain on the user's body in terms of the utilization of the ki. The Super Saiyan 4 transformation, however, does not require as much energy to maintain as its predecessor, allowing the user to stay in the state for a much longer duration. While its ki consumption does not strain the user himself, it does become straining when used in conjunction with the fusion dance, significantly shortening the fusion time limit, as evidenced with Gogeta, diffusing within 10 minutes instead of the regular half-hour limit. It also appears that the form makes the individual larger in height and muscularity. Now, in terms of power level, there aren't any official power levels, as the Daizenshu and the Super Exciting guides do not cover GT. However, what we can do is go off what we know. All we know is this, that Goku went from being weaker than Super Baby Vegeta to being at least around on par with Oozaru Baby Vegeta or slightly stronger. Now, if Oozaru works the same for Baby, then he was 10 times stronger, which means Goku would need a greater power up than 10 times to match that. Now, if you've seen the predecessor to this video, Super Saiyan Transformations Explained 1 to 3, you will know that the Super Saiyan 3 transformation is 400 times the base user's power. Then, for Super Saiyan 4 to match Oozaru Baby Vegeta, it at least has to be 10 times Super Saiyan 3 to match Baby Vegeta in that form. Now, this could be a power level of 4,100 times base. We don't know. We don't have an exact figure. There is no concrete evidence anywhere to state exactly how much of a multiplier it is. But if we use logic, it's safe to say that it at least has to be 4,000 times base for him to fight Baby Vegeta. And then the reason he beats Baby Vegeta in this form is because he becomes what Trunks calls a fully powered Super Saiyan 4, when Gohan, Goten, Trunks lend Goku their power, and in this form he dominates Golden Oozaru Baby Vegeta. So, there you have it. I believe that both of these forms are 4,000 times their base power level. Okay, so that's all for the Oozaru and Super Saiyan 4 transformation explanations, and on the next video in this mini-series of Super Saiyan transformations explained, we will be talking about the God Key character transformations, Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. We'll also touch upon how Kaioken affects the Super Saiyan God transformations, and maybe we'll also touch upon the Super Saiyan Rage or Super Saiyan Ikari, whichever you prefer, that Trunks unlocked versus Zamasu. Now, if you want to get that content straight to your email account so you are notified of it straight away, hit that subscribe button. If you just so happen to turn into a giant ape with golden coloured hair and you cannot, in this instance, regain any calmness, not staying calm in this situation will only ensure you never become a Super Saiyan 4.